1957. The dry, heavy heat of Alabama clung to the town of Roseville like a thick blanket. The streets were empty, not because of the heat, but because of fear. A fear passed down through generations. Fear of speaking up, of going against the current, of lifting your head if you were black. Mr. Eli Harper walked to the Hilltop School each morning, a worn-down building with peeling white paint and a bell that hadn't rung in years. He'd taught there for nearly 40 years, reading and arithmetic at first, then literature and history. But what mattered most wasn't the curriculum. It was what he taught them between the lines, that they mattered, that their voices mattered, that they weren't shadows, they were light, even if the world said otherwise. The school had been built by black hands, brick by brick, not a cent from the state. The town gave them land nobody wanted, land that once held slave quarters and now only grew weeds. But the school became a beacon, a place where hope outgrew history. That morning, Mr. Harper held a letter in his hands. Miss Elsie, the school nurse, had delivered it, just as she did every morning, often with a quiet glance to check which students had new bruises. He didn't open the envelope. He already knew. "I haven't finished." He already knew. The rumors had been circling. "Eli," she said gently, placing a hand on his shoulder. "They're really doing it. They're shutting us down." He nodded. No words. Mr. Harper was never one to rage. His grief lived deeper. He set the letter on his desk, looked out the window at children laughing in the yard, and whispered, "We haven't yet told them what their voices mean. I haven't finished." The next morning, the air felt different. Maybe it was just the way the cicadas held their breath before the heat came down in full. Or maybe it was the children's laughter. It sounded a little thinner, a little less certain, as if some part of them already knew something had changed. Mr. Harper unlocked the schoolhouse door and paused. He placed his hand on the frame, like a man greeting an old friend. This place had held more than just lessons. It had held births and funerals, secrets and songs, anger and love. It had held him. Inside, everything looked the same. Desks lined up in crooked rows, chalk dust floating in sunbeams, books stacked where the shelf leaned like an old man's spine. And yet, the air felt like it was holding its breath. He laid the letter on his desk. He hadn't opened it yesterday. There was no need to. Still, something made him want to see the words for himself. He slit the envelope with a paper knife and unfolded the single page. "Dear Mr. Harper, due to budgetary restructuring and changes in educational priorities within the district, we regret to inform you that the Roseville Colored School will be officially decommissioned at the end of this term. Thank you for your years of service. We wish you well in your future endeavors." His lips tightened, not in anger, in familiarity. He had read letters like this before, not in content, but in tone. Cold, clinical, written with gloves on, so as not to feel the blood. He folded the letter once, then again, pressing each crease like it was a wound he wanted to close. Miss Elsie knocked softly on the doorframe. "You okay, Eli?" she asked, even though she already knew the answer. He nodded. "I'm gonna tell them," he said. "Today." She walked in, set a tin of biscuits on the desk. "You want me to stay?" He shook his head. "No, ma'am. This one's mine to carry." The bell hadn't rung in over a decade, not since desegregation was whispered about in newspapers and spit out like poison in town hall meetings. They didn't want the children to think anything had changed. But Mr. Harper had let the silence of the bell be part of the lesson. That day, he stood in front of his class, a room of 23 black children with pressed shirts and bright eyes. Some had walked miles. Some had skipped meals. All of them had hope tucked into their pockets, passed down from parents who had never stopped dreaming, no matter how many times the world told them to give up. He cleared his throat. The room fell silent. ... I want to tell you something, he began. And I want you to remember it for the rest of your lives. Because this place, this little school, might be closing its doors, but you are not done learning, and I'm not done teaching you. A boy in the front, Javon, raised his hand. Sir? Mr. Harper gave him a nod. Javon didn't cry. None of them did. But the way they sat, straighter, stronger, made Mr. Harper's throat catch. Even at 10 years old, these kids had learned how to hold pain without letting it show. I don't know what they'll say about us when they write their books, Mr. Harper continued. Maybe they won't write about us at all. But you and me will know the truth. We built something here. In the back, a girl named Lottie whispered to her neighbor. My mama says we always build things they try to tear down. Mr. Harper smiled at that. You listen to your mama, he said. She knows. He turned to the old rusted bell hanging by the window. For a moment, he just looked at it. The rope had frayed. Dust clung to it like time itself had given up. Then he grabbed the rope and pulled. The bell let out a long, aching sound. It echoed across the fields, down to the town, and into homes where curtains moved and radios quieted. The children didn't move. They just listened, like they understood what the bell meant, even without the words. The next week, the school was quieter. Parents still sent their children, maybe out of habit, maybe because they didn't know what else to do. Mr. Harper taught just the same. He read poems about freedom, taught math like it mattered, and let them draw pictures of the things they were afraid to say out loud. But then the car came. It was a government car, black, polished, out of place on the dirt road that led to the school. It pulled up slow and silent, like bad news wearing nice shoes. Two men stepped out, white, one tall, with sharp eyes and a clipboard. The other, younger, shifting from foot to foot like he didn't want to be there. Neither smiled. Mr. Harper didn't rise from his desk. He waited until they stepped into the room, eyes scanning everything, from the books on the shelves to the color of the students' skin. We're here on behalf of the board, the tall one said, just tying up loose ends. Mr. Harper nodded. We're not afraid, sir. The tall man blinked. Not a joke, not even a smile. Would you mind dismissing the students? We need a moment. Mr. Harper stood. They stay. The young one hesitated. Mr. Harper, it's not standard. This school has never been standard, Mr. Harper said. A silence fell that felt like history was listening. The tall one gave in with a sigh. Very well. He opened his clipboard and read out loud about resource allocation, property transfer, district integration. Mr. Harper didn't flinch, didn't interrupt, but the children did. Lottie stood up first. Is that why they don't want us here? Because we cost too much? Then Javon. My brother went to the white school. They spit at him. Then quiet little Thomas. Will they spit at us too? The men said nothing. They weren't trained for children. Mr. Harper rose. That's enough, he said gently. Then to the men, you've had your say. Now leave us be. The tall one narrowed his eyes. This building belongs to the district. Mr. Harper's gaze hardened. This building belongs to memory, and you don't own that. The last day came like all last days do. quietly, unfairly. The sun rose the same. The birds chirped. The floorboards still creaked when Mr. Harper walked down the aisle between the desks. But every child knew what this day was. They didn't speak much. No chalk on the board, no books opened. Just eyes, wide, watching, waiting. Mr. Harper stood in front of the room and said nothing at first. His hands rested on the desk, like he was holding something heavy, invisible. Then he spoke. "You have done nothing wrong," he said. "Never let anyone make you feel like this ending is your fault. They can take the building, but they can't take the learning, not unless you let them." A few of the younger ones wiped at their eyes. He reached into his drawer and pulled out a stack of paper, handwritten notes, one for each child. "I've written you something," he said, "for when you forget what you're worth." He walked down the rows, handing each letter out. The children took them like sacred things. Then he turned and took the chalk in his hand. On the blackboard he wrote 3 words: "You are enough." He stepped back, stared at the words, and nodded once. Then came the knock. Not the government men this time, just Miss Elsie. She had brought a few neighbors, and then more came. Mothers, fathers, uncles, grandmothers. Some had walked, some had driven, all had come to stand witness. They packed into the room, shoulder to shoulder, silent and full of fire. "We heard it was the last day," one father said. "It is," Mr. Harper replied. "Then we ain't letting it pass quiet." Someone brought a guitar. Someone else started singing, an old spiritual, low and strong. The children joined in, then the parents, then Mr. Harper, his voice worn but sure. He walked to the bell, pulled the rope once more. Its sound rolled out over the field, like thunder wrapped in memory. And when the song ended, when the bell stopped, no one moved. They just stood there, in the little school that had never really belonged to the state, only to them.